For the board's information, there are no public speakers today, so the first item of business is the approval of the minutes. We need a motion and a second. All those in favor? No opposed? Minutes are approved. Ron will go through the committee work plan and the commitments and completions.
Okay. There are no changes to the work plan, and the commitments and completions are as follows. MTA committed $1.08 billion through March. This is 57% of the planned commitments of $1.88 billion. New York City Transit committed $760 million, or 74% of its plan. This is due to delay in funding for the 2009 Track and Switch program for $158 million, the White Plains Road Line, East 188th Street Station Rehab and ADA for $81 million until May, pending CPRB approval, and rehab of 5 Pelham Line stations for $121 million until June. The funding delay for the entire Track and Switch program mentioned is not affecting progress. Adequate current funding exists through June. Long Island Railroad committed $68 million, or 67% of its plan. This is due to delay also in the FTA funding of the 2009 annual track program. Metro North committed $29 million, or 64% of its plan of $46 million. This is mostly due to delay and, again, the funding of the 2009 cyclic track program. Capital Construction committed $166 million, or 29% of its plan. This is mostly due to delay in awarding 2nd Avenue Subway's 96th Street Station civil work for $329 million until May. Bridges and Tunnels committed $9 million, or 12% of its plan of $77 million. This is due to delay in award of the construction contract for the rehab of the RFK Bridge, Building 104, for $67 million until June. MTA Bus has committed no funds compared to its plan of $10 million. This is due to delayed receipt of the local matching funds. MTA completed $502 million through March. This is 91% of the planned completions. New York City Transit completed $422 million, or 96% of its plan. Long Island Railroad completed $66 million, or 111% of its plan. Metro North completed $14 million, or 71% of its plan. This is due to delayed acceptance of rolling stock for $3.9 million until May, and completion of the North White Plains EIS EA for $3 million until June 2010. Capital Construction has completed no projects compared with its plan of $32 million. This is due to delayed completion of security projects will be completed in April. No other agencies had planned completions in March.
Great. Keep going.
That's it. Any questions? Done.
Ron?
Yes, Andrew.
On the page of commitments, page 2-15, where it says rehab 3 Rockaway Line stations, I assume they're on the Rockaway Park branch. Maybe we should, if they are, we should put that, because you've already put the others on the Far Rockaway branch. We should be as descriptive as we can be.
The rehab of the 3 Rockaway stations?
Yeah, I mean, if it's on the Rockaway Park branch.
Connie?
Is it?
You know what, I'll have to check.
We'll check.
Okay, because it should be, you should know right away what we're talking about here.
Which branch?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Which one?
Where are we up to?
Transit.
We're up to the presentation of the
Risk assessment.
risk assessment.
Okay, New York City Transit presentation on that. New York City Transit, the presentation on the quantitative risk assessment of the Colville Viaduct project. Let's go.
Okay, so I'll just introduce this project. It's one of the largest projects in the capital program, in the 5-year capital program. It's large, complex line, and it gave us a lot of concern. And so we put a lot of effort into making it a project that could be bid. We did a risk assessment a year ago, which helped us firm up the procurement plan to make sure we could actually get contractors who are interested in it, and also to make sure that once we award the project, that it's one that we'd be able to successfully execute. So Dilip Patel will start off with a description of the project.
Thank you, Connie. Culver Viaduct is a 70-year-old structure and approximately 1 mile long. highest point on the structure is 90 feet above Governors Canal. So far, no major structure rehab work has been performed on the structure. This is a typical condition of the underside of the deck. You can see here, because of the water leaks over the years, that has caused damage to concrete and steel members of the deck and supporting structures. As a precautionary measure, about 10 years ago, we put netting all over the structure to protect the pedestrian, buildings, park area, to catch the falling small concrete. This is a color line you see here. It's a typically 4 tracks railroad. 2 middle tracks are currently not in service. In addition to repairing waterproofing of the deck, also replacing track and drainage, the signal system will be upgraded, and the 4th Avenue interlocking you see here will also be replaced. The contract was awarded last month, like Connie said, at a very good price. Now Craig Stubert and John Pentilitis will go into phasing plan and risk and mitigation measures implemented for this project. Craig?
Thank you, Dilip. The Culver Viaduct has been in need of rehabilitation for many years, and the work to be done is extensive and complex. One of Transit's biggest challenges was to develop a plan that allows access to the work area while still providing service to our customer. After exploring various options, including a total shutdown of the line segment, we arrived at an acceptable phasing plan that minimizes customer impacts while maximizing the number of construction activities by coordinating station rehabilitation, signal, switch, and tunnel lighting project work. The duration of the viaduct project is 47 months, and construction and service diversions are divided into 4 major phases. The table above shows the general scope and duration of each phase. I will discuss some examples of the phasing in detail to give a better sense of how construction work and passenger service have been coordinated. Presently, all passenger service operates through this area using the local track. Prior to the first phase of construction, a service change will be needed to allow access to the work area. G-Line service will be extended to Church Avenue Station, where a terminal facility is currently being built by in-house forces. The construction of this new facility and other improvements, such as the express track and station rehabilitation, are a significant investment in our infrastructure. Not only will these improvements provide better service to our customers during the construction and allow access for concurrent rehabilitation projects, they will also create the potential for future flexibility and new express service. The diversion with the largest customer impact will be the weekend shutdowns. A total of 21 weekend shutdowns between J Street and Church Avenue will occur over the 47-month project duration. Roughly 10% of the weekends will be affected. The 28,000 passengers that normally use this service each weekend will be served by shuttle bus service in both directions. This substitute service will require 240 buses on Saturdays and 166 buses on Sundays, and would cost approximately $370,000 per weekend. Half of these shutdowns will occur in the first phase of construction, which will last 22 months. Specifically, work will include the rehabilitation of the express track, installation of a crossover, and the construction of temporary platforms.
Could I ask you one thing?
Yes.
Where will the shuttle buses run between?
J Street and Church.
Wouldn't it be cheaper and easier to bus people to 4th Avenue where, N and R service is available?
I don't have an answer for that one.
That's a pretty long shuttle bus.
It is. It is.
We'll put the question to Peter Caffiero.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This work will provide all the necessary improvements to ensure better service to our customers in the following phases of the project. This will also bring the number of remaining weekend shutdowns down to 11, which will be spread out over the next 3 phases. The improvements made during Phase 1 will allow service to run in both directions during the rest of construction. For instance, during Phase 2 northbound service, we'll use the rehabilitated express tracks to allow for the rehabilitation of the northbound local track and viaduct structure. Customers will be able to access Smith and 9th Street and 4th Avenue stations using the temporary platforms, and customers at the other two local stations, 15th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway, will back ride from 7th Avenue for a 4-month period. Phase 3 will mirror Phase 2 both in construction activities and in the service plan. Only now the rehabilitation will occur on the southbound side. In the final phase, normal service will return with the exception of 3 weekend shutdowns to complete the remaining switch and signal work. The Culver Line project is a major undertaking with a complicated service plan and phasing, and offers many challenges in construction also. As a result, the consultant was hired to conduct a risk assessment prior to the undertaking of this project. John Panelidis, Chief Program Officer of Controls, will discuss the results of the analysis. Thanks, John.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Craig. As Connie mentioned, we have recently introduced the risk assessment process to improve our constructability efforts. This will confirm our confidence in our cost estimates and durations and schedules. It will also ensure a clear path to a successful project within budget and within schedule. The Culver risk assessment was conducted in early 2008. The bidding environment and risk at that time were different than at the time of my award. We had a great concern regarding the lack of general contractor as well as signal and track subcontractor competition. At that time, we were thinking maybe we might have 1 or 2 general contractors bidding this project. In addition, even though the execution of the project is simple and straightforward, the successful completion, though, is dependent on the proper coordination of sequential subcontractor activities, such as structural rehab, waterproofing, track, and signal work. Any of these activities could delay the project. In order to minimize the impact of these risks, we proactively took corrective actions. During the design phase, we approached potential general contractors and subcontractors that could perform this work. In order to attract also more bidders, we reduced the project bid cost by deleting the Smith & 9 and the underside work to be awarded as different contracts later on. As Craig mentioned, we have spent a significant amount of time and effort to develop an efficient and effective phasing plan which minimizes public inconvenience, it maximizes contractor productivity, and reduces contractor risks. In addition, during the procurement phase, we had numerous pre-proposal tours and conferences where we met with subcontractors, general contractors, and we exchanged ideas, we entertained questions, again, in order to improve the confidence from the contractor community to our project. In addition, also we extended the bid opening date, which was originally November 2008 to January 2009, in order to give the opportunity to additional bidders and subcontractors to provide both technical and cost proposals to our project. I'm glad to report that our mitigation efforts paid off. We have seen an increase in general contractor and signal contractor competition. Actually, we received proposals from 4 different general contractors, 3 different signal and track subcontractors. Our phasing plan was accepted with minimal concerns by the contractor community. A smaller contract, more competition, accurate and clear specifications, a viable phasing plan, a schedule that minimizes contractor risks, contribute to competitive and reasonable bids.
Was that total figure all of the pieces of the contract added
This,
together?
the figure, right. The figure, the next slide shows that based on a $178 million bid cost, our total cost, which includes TA labor, construction administration, is $259, $260
and that
million.
includes Smith 9th Street, correct?
No, it does not.
That's
not.
my question.
Right.
That's going to be a later contract.
Right. Which if you give me, we'll address that in a few minutes. And which is about approximately about $56 million less than what we thought it could have been. In regards to duration, the risk assessment showed that we cannot, there's an 80% confidence that the project will not exceed 48.3 months. Now that the project is in construction, we tend to monitor and implement the risks and mitigations shown on this table. But I would like to concentrate, pay your attention on the last one. Craig mentioned that there's about $300,000 per weekend shutdown. So what we tend to do is to construct several other projects concurrently with the Kerry Viaduct project. That will minimize our TA labor costs. It would also improve, for the other contracts, contractor productivity and reduces risks. Those projects are the employee facility in Church Avenue, which is under construction, the tunnel lighting, rehabilitation. By the way, those first two projects are being constructed by in-house forces. The CBTC test track is part of the 2005 and 2009 program, and the rest of them are part of the 2010 to 14 program. It is critical, though, like some of these projects to be awarded in such a time frame in order to maximize, again, track access productivity and take advantage of the Kerry Viaduct shutdowns in order to save both time and money in both bid and TA services. Thank you very much. Any questions?
When do you anticipate the GOs starting?
On July 5th, we're going to have the F extended to Church Avenue. To Church, and then we'll have about 10 shutdowns in the first phase, complete shutdowns, and then the rest of the 11 during the last phase of the project, phase 3 and 4.
Independent engineers, you want to say anything?
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Kalita from McKissick Delcan. Only one comment on New York City Transit's program has to do with the bus program. Actually, the no.
You're ahead of us.
Am I ahead?
You're ahead of us.
Comments on the risk assessment?
This one.
No,
We'll come back to you. Don't worry. We won't forget you.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure I get everything in, first time and all. Okay. No, I don't have any comments, Mr. Chairman, on the risk
Thank you.
assessment.
Let's go. Next one. Roll 'em.
Dale? Just one.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
Sorry. Obviously, going through that procedure has or should yield some positive results and not insignificant. The 80% confidence level, is high and nice. 20% on the other hand is also not insignificant. And my question is whether 80% is really where you want to be, or whether what you'd have to go through to move that number higher is just not consistent with reality.
We have a large capital program, and this is just one project in it. If I were building a new light rail system in Memphis or something, and I only had one shot at getting a budget, I would go to a 90% confidence level. But since we can afford, because we have a large set of projects, I wouldn't set every project at an 80% confidence level, because even if you set it at a 50% level, some will go high and some will go low. So we're taking the big projects and setting them at an 80% level, and if we'll win some, we'll lose some, but overall we'll be in good shape. It's just a sort of a statistical, probabilistic approach to it.
Just to support Connie's comment, the next presentation you're going to hear, if you remember the electronics projects, we're up at 90%. It's a little different. So 80, 90%, depending on the characteristics or the impact, are reasonable confidence levels to use. And we reported on this before, and we had input from the Blue Ribbon Panel and others along these lines.
There's absolutely no question that the underside of Smith Ninth will get rehabilitated, correct?
The whole viaduct,
Yes.
well, certainly it means we need to have a next capital program.
Yeah.
Presuming we get another capital program.
We
Let's not
presume
be
that.
so
We presume we will.
Yeah, let's hope. Okay, now you get your chance, independent engineer, to do the buses. Now you're on with the buses.
I might also add, by the way, that 90% confidence levels in the areas of certain structured securities on the financial side have left us all gasping for air.
Yeah,
so.
but remember, this is a whole new system that we're putting into place.
Well, no,
We never
I'm saying-
did this before.
No, I'm saying
And the
90%
purpose is-
didn't get us very far.
Well, but we didn't do this. We didn't have risk assessments before. That's the whole purpose of doing this, is to see if we can get it up to 90%. If we don't get it up around there, then we should stop doing it.
I would also like to add, as the Chairman said, this is a new process. The important thing is the process itself. And we have to make sure all the stakeholders are there and there's a free and transparent dialogue. And as the engineer, sits and witnesses the risk assessment for transit and participates in them and others, we can test that all the stakeholders are there, all the questions are asked, and we think we're getting the best input in order to ensure that confidence level will be achieved.
Okay, let's talk about the bus depot program. One area of concern for the current period has to do with the Charleston Annex Bus Depot. The current forecast completion date is December of '09. We believe that there is some exposure, some schedule exposure, and that current rate, it's more likely to complete in the second quarter of 2010. New York City Transit believes there's some schedule exposure here as well. The chief engineer and program manager have been meeting with the contractor, biweekly meetings, in order to mitigate the delay. It's possible that December could be the completion date, but everything that needs to go right would have to go right, and therefore, from a risk perspective, we believe that in April or May 2010 is a more realistic completion date. That's my only comment on the bus depot program.
Thank you. All right, next we do New York City Transit, update on the PA-CIS risk-based workshop and the Signal Systems Division. Red Smith.
That's me. Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
on.
Good afternoon. I will be presenting a status report on the PA-CIS project, which underwent a risk workshop and a brief update on the signals area. The risk workshop identified 5 major risks to the PA-CIS project. The first risk, the stability of the contractor's implementation team, was a concern. The contractor has experienced turnover over the life of the project. They've managed to fill the 5 critical vacancies which we have been tracking: the configuration manager, the systems integrator, safety and training managers, and the communications engineer. The vacancy periods were covered by doubling up responsibilities of peer and subordinate managers and filled before any direct schedule impact. The risk involving resources, both transit and the contractors. The contractor has established separate teams for the development of Phase 2 and Phase 3 software and indicated to us that additional crews will be provided for installation work planned over the next few months. On transit side, I'm very happy to announce that Deborah Chin has joined the project team and has assumed the duties and responsibilities of lead construction manager. Ms. Chin is coming off the recently completed ATS project, or Automatic Train Supervision Command Center project. She brings a systems commissioning background and is well respected among her peers, consultants, and the FTA. She will be an asset to the project, particularly as it enters the testing and acceptance phase. Department of Subways has been meeting the demand for personnel for flagging, access, and protection at work sites, and we will continue to monitor all staffing through to completion. The risk to schedule if change orders are not negotiated quickly. We have obtained the services of an experienced software estimator and scheduler. To date, 40 change orders have been resolved at a cost of $1.8 million. 22 are in process, with 13 open. Direction's been given to the contractor to begin conduit work on one pending change order, which we identified as a risk to Phase 3. We are obtaining additional support to help with scope development for the remaining field site changes. And we still are identifying some of those site changes. The risk that the system design will not be scalable or expandable to all 468 stations system-wide. As you know, this project only covers the A division, which is about 1/3 of all stations. 3 scalability tests have been performed successfully. The contractors indicated that they will perform an additional 4th later as the software reaches maturity. The schedule is being maintained. The highest risk is from delay in finalizing our test plans. The efforts of our dedicated test plan working group has resulted in the completion of 7 of the 8 required test plans. And each of these test plans require hundreds of different test cases. The latest update does show some slippage in this summary schedule. During the workshop, we reviewed all critical and near-critical schedule activities and assigned durations based on our experience with installation, test, and commissioning tasks, as per the contract requirements. Circled on the schedule is the current activity for pre-factory acceptance testing, or as we refer to it as pre-FAT. We are placing much greater emphasis on the pre-FAT by requiring that the software have 0 faults before we start the final acceptance testing. This should result in a much shorter time to actually conduct the final testing and recover some schedule on the FAT activity. The project's risk-informed completion date remains April of 2011, with a cost range up to $188 million. The risk-informed range has been adjusted by $2 million since my last report to account for the negotiated consultant contract extension, which was a board item the previous month, and the agreement to increase contingency from the original 5% to 7% of bid price. Now I would like to update you on the Signals portion of my program. Signals is working on 38 projects with a current budget value of $1.8 billion. A detailed breakdown of these projects is included in your handout. I will just highlight the recently completed projects and then brief you on the investments needed going forward. In 2008, we completed the Jerome Avenue Middle Track. This project installed signals in both directions on 6 miles of track, which now provides greater flexibility to reroute trains around service disruptions and the potential for an express service. The project finished 1 month ahead of schedule. The 70-year-old signal room located at Bergen Street on the F&G in Brooklyn, damaged by fire, was replaced with our first solid-state interlocking, which was placed in service in October. This flushing line interlocking project modernized Ross and 33rd Street and installed a new interlocking at 74th Street in advance of the upcoming CBTC project. This was completed in December. The most significant milestone to report to you today is that on February 24th at 12:01 a.m., the Canarsie line became the first New York City Transit line to operate in automatic train operation. The train operator is always in control. To keep the attention of the operator, he must respond to a feature called the alerter, which buzzes every 20 seconds. Otherwise, the train will come to a stop. ATO provides the added safety and benefit of consistent train operations. And ATO is now available 24/7. Okay. Although buses, rail cars, and track are in a normal replacement cycle, many of our assets still have a backlog of investment needed to achieve a state of good repair. In response to the Chairman's request to look at these assets, I'll brief you on the state of the signals represented here on the bottom line of this chart. Currently, 37% of transit signal system is past its useful life of 50 years. More importantly, 26% is now over 70 years, straining both maintenance and operations to deliver reliable service. At the current investment level, we will lose some ground in the next 5 years as more track miles fall out of state of repair faster than we can replace them with our modernization program. Transit began modernizing the original signal system in the early 60s, but it was not until '82 with a funded strategy began with the onset of the first 5-year capital program. At that time, it was determined that approximately 16 miles of signals needed to be awarded each year in order to reach a state of good repair by 2020 and then maintain the normal replacement cycle. With investments to date, we have approximately 13 track miles per year have been completed. In order to make up for the shortfall, we need to increase the program to average approximately 20 track miles of signals per year in each of the next 3 capital programs in order to reach state of good repair by 2025, 5 years later than originally planned. Funding this need for signals is a major challenge to the capital program.
That's a big deal.
It will take either a large increase in total funding or a significant reallocation of constrained funds to progress this work. Signal projects are right-of-way intensive, and the greater the backlog, the greater the strain on operations to provide service diversions during the actual construction. Difficult decisions will have to be made as the 10 to 14 program is prepared over the next few months. That completes my presentation, Mr. Chairman.
That's a great job. You will make sure that the appropriate people get copies of that last little bit, because there's some big decisions coming along.
Speaking to Fred's last point, are we doing everything we can to see that signal work is, if it's all possible during the current GOs, is being done while they're being done? I mean, are we coordinating that to see that every piece of work that needs to be done on a line, if the line's being shut or diverted in any way, is being done?
We have currently a number of smaller component projects which utilize any available GO so that we can piggyback as much as possible. But the major projects,
I got to get upstairs. So you run the beat.
but Andrew, the major projects require much longer durations and therefore longer GOs over a specific line. But we are bouncing around doing as much as we can, concurrent with other scheduled work.
Yeah, the short answer to the question is that will allow us to make the biggest improvement in on-time performance that we possibly can make.
To upgrade the signals.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is pile, when a section is being worked on, we're trying to pile not only the capital work, not only MTACC, but all the operating work that's being done as well. So there is a major effort. It's probably one of the most difficult jigsaw puzzle jobs that you can possibly have.
Riders are just, complaining every weekend. There's so much going on. You enter, there's a wall of diversion signs. So I think it's incumbent on us to do as much as we can while we're diverting people to lessen the pain.
Right. I just wanted to add, in relation to what you just saw on signals, as you all know, there are many other asset categories that still require an enormous investment. I like to remind the committees whenever I have the opportunity that investment, given how huge our infrastructure is, the issues that you said, there's a capacity limitation to how much you can do in any 5-year period. The fact that we operate 24/7 means that it's a challenge to balance all these investment needs, and that the investment need is in perpetuity. So I just want to put this in context. You will soon be seeing the results of our 20-year needs evaluation, which we do, which will allow you not just to worry about signals, but to balance that worry against other asset categories that New York City Transit has that still need substantial investment, and across the whole family of agencies. After we bring through the board the 20-year needs exercise, we will then be following shortly after with what we would expect a 10 to 14 program to look like, on the assumption that regardless of what happens in the next few days, we're committed to maintaining the health of the base infrastructure. So in some areas we may need to be creative, similar to what transit has done with stations, in starting to look at component replacement programs to allow us to progress the most critical of the component investments that are needed, catching up on the entirety later and as we progress. So more to come, and I think we're going to use this forum to preview some of that work.
That's great, Linda. Those of us that went on a tour of pieces of the system, saw rotting canopies, rotting platforms. It's like a house. If you don't take care of it, it's going to fall down. You could have the most modern signal and the most modern track bed, but if water is leaking from above, it's going to ruin all of the things you've just done. So everything has to be looked at. And is it fair to say that in capital needs, the transit system probably is at least 80% of the entire MTA's capital needs?
In its entirety, probably more. The way the capital program is divided, 75% of the investment goes there. But remember that the borderline between state of good repair, what we've in the past called state of good repair, and you'll see the agencies want to move a little bit away from those titles into something that's called asset condition. But if you take that standard definition, the line between something being not in good repair and in good repair is dependent on your commitment to normal replacement. So, there, but for the grace of God go I, we need to maintain the investments that we've done on our commuter rails as well. Both of them, one of them has still at least one or two categories that are not considered fully in good repair. And again, we'll be bringing this all through the board and the committee cycles over the next few months.
Also, just reflecting back on the 20-year needs assessment, as you go through that prioritization, I think it would be useful as an aid to the board to not just show the things that you've elected to do, but also to list the things that you've not elected to do. Even if it's just a one-page or two-page handout, just so that we understand the things that have fallen by the wayside.
The asset assessment will allow you to understand across all categories what state the components are in. And it really is as you get into the choices for the next program that you start seeing that prioritization. So you'll be able to get your own feel for what those are, and then I think there can be a robust give and take with the agency presidents and their capital staffs about the priorities that are made within those needs, because there's no question that needs will and continue to far exceed what we can expect for resources. And that's not to say we haven't been, we haven't had good capital programs in the past. It's just, again, the system is huge, the need is tremendous, and the 24/7 operations also puts on some capacity limitations. As you said, the customer's ability to be able to handle the amount of diversion that might otherwise be necessary.
Do you have anything else, Ron? Folks, do you have independent consultants have anything on the rear of this book?
No other
Nothing on all of that?
comments for today.
Well,
So I guess can we motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you all.